Also a natural fit is my guest at this time, who was really helping one of the, brightest stars to come down the mixed martial arts pike. Even UFC President Dana White is a fan, which it caught some people by surprise, since he never was against women in mixed martial arts, and he had a point when he said, there's just not enough talent, or he felt a depth of talent to put together an elite division for the Octagon. Invicta Fighting Championships, of course, coming off a successful debut event, the all-female portion with some tremendous fights. Of course, Strikeforce has put on some memorable battles involving a young lady who we're going to be talking about right now, the Strikeforce Women's Bantamweight Champion, Ronda Rousey. Joining us is her manager, Darin Harvey. And Darin, first of all, thank you very much for taking some time to talk to us here on the MMA Show podcast. And you're not just a pretty face or a manager. You actually have quite the martial arts background yourself. Can you give us your background as it pertains to the martial arts, sir?
Well, first of all, I'm not a pretty face. I'm not a pretty face at all, but thanks for the compliment. I'm working on it. My best friend's a plastic surgeon, but he can't even do much with it.
How did you get involved in this sport of ours?
Mauro, I started out, I've always been fascinated with the martial arts. I think the very first movie that inspired me was the Billy Jack movie with Tom Laughlin.
Yes.
Which was, he said that classic line, I'm going to take this foot and put it on that side of your face, and there's not going to be a darn thing you're going to be able to do about it. And I was hooked ever since.
That's awesome.
And I've been training since I was a kid. I started in Tong Soo Do under the Chuck Norris system and under Ron Pownell and Mark Zacharias. And I just loved it. I had some pretty serious learning disabilities, and I felt terrible about myself. And I needed something where I could develop some self-esteem. So I owe my life to martial arts. So anything that I can do to help build these athletes and build the sport, I'm there.
Wow, and that's powerful stuff, because I hear it from so many people, including the greats, Frank Shamrock, who, admittedly was in and out of prison and was a juvenile delinquent, and, MMA, the martial arts saved his life. Bas Rutten had a skin disorder, was bullied and picked on. Martial arts saved his life. It goes up and down, and I'm wondering, Darin, for you and the wisdom that you impart now to your clients and whatnot, why are there so many stories like yours that say the martial arts literally saved my life?
I don't know exactly how to answer that question, but I think that it gives us, men and women and children alike, it gives us empowerment. It gives us the ability and the confidence. And if you can sort of handle yourself physically, then the rest sort of follows from there. And I think that's a huge part of it. It's just like being able to walk tall, with your shoulders back and your chin up, and you just, the sense in which you carry yourself when you're accomplished in the martial arts and you feel like you can handle yourself, people start to treat you differently. And it's been a long time. I'm 49 years old now, and I'm not the baddest ass looking guy on earth by any means, but I can't remember the last time that anyone's really even looked at me sideways. Maybe because they just think I'm such a pushover, but it's just I think it's just the way you carry yourself, and when it comes to getting in fights, it's like in your mind. There's been situations where people were intoxicated around me, or something could have happened, and in my mind I'm thinking somebody's going to get hurt. It's most likely not going to be me. And I don't need to prove it. I already proved it in the karate school earlier this afternoon, Mm-hmm. Like, what do I need to do this for? It's just my sport. You don't need to be beating the crap out of people.
Fight Tribe Management's Darin Harvey joining us on the MMA Show podcast. We mentioned El Guapo Bas Rutten. I've said time and again there would be no Mauro Ranallo in MMA broadcasting, maybe no Mauro Ranallo, period, without the help and guidance and friendship of El Guapo Bas Rutten. You managed Bas Rutten back in the day. Tell us how that relationship came to fruition, and what was it like handling El Guapo?
Well, and first of all, it's pretty funny. I met Boss. I was training at Beverly Hills Jiu-Jitsu, and at that time, Mark Kerr, Marco Huas, Pedro Rizzo, Bas Rutten, Oleg Tektarov, all those guys. I might be missing a couple. They were all training. They were all UFC fighters at the time, and even I don't think Mark Kerr was, but I had some of the toughest guys in the world, and I had a kickboxing background, and I saw Boss Rutan one day in the sort of private room where the pros train, and I see with his very squared off style, like which is what he teaches. I said, you might want to stand a little more sideways. I'm telling Boss Rutan how he should sharpen up his kickboxing skills. I had no idea who he is. I just saw this bald guy with tattoos on his shins.
Did you get the right whipping leg kick of death? True story, and I want to continue with because I used to, like Boss and I have this big brother, little brother mentality. Anyone who's come into his personal space can't help but fall in love with the guy's charisma, personality. He is one of those guys that will give you the shirt off his back, but also, beat you to a pulp if you wrong him or anyone he cares about. One of the baddest men on the planet, legitimately. Anyway, I was giving him a really rough time because, being the nerdy guy in the glasses and the small pudgy guy, I was standing next to Boss in the elevator in Japan during a Pride event, and I was just giving it to him, blah, 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 blah. Without missing a beat, he kicked me to the shin. Like, I went down like I was shot. And out of scene out of a movie, the elevator door opens, there's all these elderly Japanese people. They see me down on the elevator floor writhing in pain. They're like, no, sorry, we take the next one. So, anyway, I felt the wrath of Boss Rutan. And by the way, ask him one time if you catch up with him to tell you about the Christmas paint gun story where he shot me. Like, who in their right mind would give Boss Rutan a paint gun for Christmas? His wife, Karen, that's who. And he proceeds to shoot me point blank range.
I can tell you a funny thing. I had a barbecue at my house last summer, and I got this airsoft machine gun for my son, which in retrospect was a dangerous thing to get for an 8-year-old kid.
Yeah.
These airsoft plastic BBs. If you YouTube Darin Harvey Boss Rutan, there's a video of me shooting him in the ass.
Yeah!
And I didn't realize. And he's going, oh, my, it hurt so bad. And he pulled the pants down. There was deep well. It looked like he got shot with a 22 in a couple of spots. And we were just dying.
Well, I'm glad you gave him back some of the medicine that he gave me. But going back to where you guys first became, manager and client, why did you want to manage Boss Rutan, and what did you see in him at the time?
Well, first of all, you see, he's an incredible fighter. And, he's a wonderful person. And that's what I look for first and foremost is I don't even want to be, I do this. This is sort of a passion project for me. I certainly don't do it for the money because in most cases you're not going to make money on fighters. But I wanted to be there to help the people that I care about and help the athletes and kind of guide them. I have a business background. And so I just wanted to sort of apply my business knowledge and sort of guide them. And, part of business is just sort of networking and developing relationships. It's all relationships. And, so I hooked them up with attorneys and agents and things of that nature and just sort of guided them along. And, he was already very established, unlike Ronda, who, we kind of started from nothing. I could take all the credit for Boss, but the guy had already had 20 some odd fights in Japan. And, I just managed him for his 2 fights in the UFC, Kosaka and Randleman. So, he's like a brother to me. It was just, we have fun. It's all about, this is not a dress rehearsal, Mauro. You got to have fun doing it or it's not worth it.
Amen. And with Boss Rutan, all you can do is have fun. And I sing his praises, near and far, loud and proud. For someone who has been also, intimately involved as a friend, a manager, a confidant, what do you think Boss, because Boss Rutan, again, a trailblazer, pioneer, now, a media personality, actor, he's an all-around entertainer, and yet I feel bad still, just like any sport. There are a lot of people who feel MMA started with The Ultimate Fighter back in 2005 when there was this obvious, rich history of the warriors that helped build the sport and Pancrase in the early days of the UFC and Pride and whatnot. What do you think Boss Rutan should be remembered for that maybe doesn't get talked about a lot?
Well, first of all, I think his 2 showings in the UFC didn't really even nearly show. They put him against 2 grapplers at the very beginning, so they were, Kosaka was kind of a master on the ground, and Randleman, all he wanted to do is wrestle. Nobody even had a taste of what Boss was capable of. If you watch the Pancrase fight, you will, but if you watch the 2 UFC, you don't even barely get a glimpse of what the guy was capable of. And, but he's the most devastating. I've seen him work with some of the top pros. I won't mention names, destroying guys that we see fighting in the UFC, like world champions. I mean, knocking guys out with the famous liver shot.
Yes.
I mean, it's crazy. His submissions against world-class black belts, boom, 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 just blowing. The guy's sick in every area.
Yeah, one of the most devastating strikers, and don't let the comedy or the craziness fool you. I've been blessed to have many, many hours and free lessons and education just hearing him break down a fight when you're sitting there and looking at it from, I can't say it more, it's a Mensa approach. He is, it's no bullshit. He has a high IQ, and it shows when he breaks down fights, and the knowledge of fighting is one thing, but to also be, like I say, the charismatic, he's almost the Pied Piper of MMA, because you just have to spend 3 seconds with him, and you're hooked for life on just wanting to be around this guy, because he's exuding positivity, and it's just always a blast to be around, and I appreciate sharing some memories with Boss. But obviously the lady, and we talked a little bit already, you mentioned her, and in many ways is like Boss Bruin, another larger-than-life personality. She's very well-spoken, maybe outspoken is the word, but a tremendous athlete and someone who is right now really rising quickly in the world of MMA as Strikeforce Women's Bantamweight Champion Ronda Rousey, who has authored quite the script. I've coined the phrase armbar assassin because truly that's what she has become in laying waste to all of her amateur and professional opponents, winning a bronze medal at the Olympics, becoming the first American female to do so as a judoka. Give us a sense of, who you think Ronda Rousey is today, because she is a polarizing person, and I think she welcomes that.
Yeah, I think she was when I met her, the day that I met her, I said, this girl is going to change. She's going to change the face of women's MMA.
Why?
And the face of MMA overall.
Why?
Because the dichotomy of this beautiful, intelligent person that has devastating martial arts skills, devastating judo, her striking, which she hasn't really had an opportunity to showcase because she's still a devastating power from the incredible judo base.
Is that her manager speaking, or Darin? Because I know you're an honest guy, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you're the manager. You got to sing her praises, and that's one area. You're right. We haven't seen much in regards to her striking, and yet you say that there is devastating power, and it is also something to be reckoned with.
Devastating, and put it this way: if you ask anybody, if you talk to the promoters, I never BS. Because you have one chance to make a first impression. So if I walk to the UFC and say this person is so incredible and they're capable of this and that, and they don't shine when they get in the cage, I have zero credibility. So I wouldn't say that if I didn't think it was true. And I brought her to a guy his name is Edmund. He trains alongside Freddie Roach, trains Vanes Martirosyan, and has like 32 professional fights, 32-0. He trains world-class boxing. He goes, Darin, I've never seen anybody pick things up the way Ronda does. Now, it takes time to really develop the skills, so you can have it with the mitts and you can have it on the bag, but you need a lot of sparring, which she does well in sparring, but it takes time. She's been doing it for less than 12 months of striking. So of course, we're going to be very dependent on our judo and use the striking to facilitate the judo. So I'm not going to say she's a world class of a Lucia Riker status in striking, but you just give us time. You just give us time.
How did you meet Ronda Rousey? How did this professional relationship come to fruition?
I manage a lot of the Armenians over at the highest end MMA Academy, where Jean LaBelle and Gokor are the teachers, and I'm very good friends with both those gentlemen. And they pushed her, and they said, you have to meet Ronda, and I rolled with Ronda, and she got me in an armbar. I have a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I pride myself, and like training with everyone I train with is better than me, so I developed very good defensive skills. So most guys can't catch me, and I'm thinking, there's no way this girl is going to catch me, and all of a sudden I'm going zip, zip, I'm flowing backwards, forward, before you know it, my arm is extended.
But why is that then? Because you do roll. You're a brown belt. You know the intricacies. What is it about her game that is so outstanding?
Well, first of all, her mom taught Anna Maria, who's the first American to ever be a world champion in judo, male or female. Put a lot of emphasis on the ground part of judo, which they call it niwaza, and Ronda's considered the top niwaza practitioner in female judo in the world. And her mom did that, put that emphasis because she felt that because the judging is so unfair, you better be able to finish opponents fast on the ground. Because in judo, they stand you up very quickly if there's not a lot of activity. So she has a shock and awe approach to it, where jiu-jitsu is much more methodical and slow. She's going boom, 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 boom. And if you notice, when she'll go for arm bars earlier on, she would just go for it without having great position. Now she's working on even better position and still exploding into it. And my personal thing, I don't think anyone, you could try to prepare for it, like you could try to prepare for Krokoff's high kick, and you're still going to get kicked, you know? Mm-hmm. And you could prepare for the armbar. You don't think Miesha Tate didn't spend the whole time defending armbar. That was her camp, you know? Mm-hmm. Defend armbar, striking, don't go down with her. And, of course, you know, Ronda, within the first, 30-some-odd seconds, got her in an armbar and it was not effective, but the second one obviously was.
Her performance against Miesha Tate, outstanding, becoming the champion very early in her career, moving down to 135 to remain undefeated, obviously captured the attention of her bosses. Dana White using her in promotional aspects, the first female in the Tough House, rang the bell. NASDAQ has spoken in California against AB, what is the bill there? I don't even know. The bill that they're trying to change, I guess, for the Muhammad Ali Reform Act, boxing to MMA. Where is she at right now in her marketability? This is an area that, I wanted to talk to you about. You're the manager. Have endorsement opportunities exploded? What's the attention been like since she has come to prominence in mixed martial arts?
Well, first of all, I'm an MMA manager, and I know my limitations. And I said to Ronda at the very beginning, there's going to be a point where you're going to blow up so big that we're going to have to bring on other professionals that are masters of endorsements, masters within the movie industry. So I've been approached. I have friends that are big agents in Hollywood, and I've been approached by some of the biggest agents in Hollywood wanting to represent Ronda. So we're in a position right now, we're trying to decide what the best move for Ronda is going to be. But she read for a major motion picture about 2 weeks ago.
Already?
With, Gina Carano for Fast and Furious 6, and she'd never done any acting. So so she went to Universal, read for it, and we still haven't heard back. But we're looking at everything. But my main goal is, in terms of other than fighting, is really focusing on endorsements, not movies. But obviously, if a huge movie opportunity comes along, then we're not going to walk away.
Was she approached then by how did is it the same role that Gina Carano is going for? Because I heard that Gina Carano's already connected to this movie with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and otherwise. Is it a different role in the same movie?
It would have been the same role.
Oh, the same role.
For the same role.
Wow. Yeah. And you still and you haven't heard back, or so it's not official yet.
Most likely, Gina. She has a Steven Soderbergh film in the can already. Has a lot more acting experience, and she's kind of over the MMA thing, and we're just beginning. So,
well, maybe they can fight for it. Why don't they just put them in the cage and let them fight for the role?
Well, because we like Gina.
I'm just bugging. I like Gina, too. I like Gina and I like Ronda. That's, well, what about, okay, so do you feel, does Ronda, talk about wanting to do that kind of stuff, getting to movies and stuff, or is it more, where's her head at right now? Because she's still very young in the MMA career, and I know there's a short shelf life, and when the iron's hot, and in this world, especially nowadays where you're hot today, you're forgotten tomorrow, you gotta make hay when there's opportunity to do so.
Exactly, and you're like you said, it's just it's from the heavens above, shining down on Ronda, and it just everything is just going so smoothly and so nice right now. And that doesn't always happen. That doesn't happen forever, and you really have to capitalize on the opportunity while it's presented to you. So we're looking at everything, and we're not jumping on sponsorship deals because we're trying to make the most lucrative. We're trying to cross Ronda over into the mainstream, which is where the big money is. So we're talking to the big players out there. And
what kind of attention has she garnered then since, like I say, her success in against Tate, and just the fact that she is, her athletic background and her ability to articulate herself? And here, let's talk about this now as a manager, because it's the elephant in the room, as they say. She is female, mixed martial artist. I know Marloes Coenen and others have said, and they're right, it's MMA. They're not. It's not a female version. It's the same sport. They're just women doing it. And yet, some women, like Gina Carano, like Miesha Tate, have embraced the fact that, if they look good, we can market. A lot of women pride themselves. Men aren't marketed the same. And I'm wondering, Darin, from your perspective, and for Ronda, because, yes, she's an attractive woman. Is that important to her? Is that important to her? Are we going to see more sex appeal out of Ronda Rousey?
Well, let's face facts. You know what I mean? This is a sexually driven society, and unfortunately it sells, or not fortunately or unfortunately it sells, and sometimes people that are not as physically appealing don't get the same advantages in life. Same thing in sports. If you look at some of the people that aren't the top athletes in their field but are females and they're attractive, like Danica Patrick of the world, and some of the tennis players.
Well, Anna Kournikova never won a tournament. Anna Kournikova never won a major tournament, and yet, one of the most popular, famous tennis players, like you say, because she's a beautiful blonde.
Exactly, and the difference here is Ronda's the most beautiful one, and she's the best athlete. She's the most devastating martial artist.
And is she comfortable? Male or female. Is she comfortable with that? Have you had a chance to talk to her, and what kind of lines, if any, what isn't she willing to do? I mean, there's rumors, even Gina, like if Playboy came along, would Ronda Rousey do Playboy?
No, I don't. She said to me, and she said to some other people, she wouldn't do anything that she would be embarrassed to show her sister.
Okay.
So I would be quite surprised. As a manager, I can only advise. You don't tell anybody what to do. You lay it all out, and you say, if you do this path, this is what's going to happen. If you take that path, that's what's going to happen over there. And then inevitably you're trying to get them to make their own decisions in life, I prepare them for life. That's what I do with my athletes.
All right. I label sex appeal as part of the sizzle. The substance, though, is there as well for, and not just in terms of athletics. Yes, she was an Olympian. Yes, she was a medalist. Give us some insight into her background as a very intelligent person. There's a big brain between those ears as well.
It's intimidating, her intelligence, to be quite honest with you, because I consider myself feeble-minded at times when I'm talking to her. Two of the top athletes I've managed are, walking around with 160, 170 IQ, and I'm like, maybe pushing 110 on a good day.
And we're talking about Boss Ruden as well, because he has that high IQ.
Exactly.
Well, what about, so Ronda, what are her interests? I mean, I've had opportunities to talk to her, but you have this unique perspective, being her manager, knowing what her strengths and weaknesses are. In terms of her intelligence, what areas or where is it that she most, you feel, excels? Is she like in a science? Is it the geography? Where are we talking about here?
Well, you know what? I think it's just that she's mastered the human condition. Her mother has 2 PhDs in psychology. Her stepfather, or adopted father, is a scientist over at Raytheon. She's around geniuses all day long. And I think what Ronda really wants to do, she's not motivated by money. If she's not meeting sponsors' obligations, I can't say, well, we're not going to get our check. She doesn't really care. She's motivated by excelling in life. And one of the things that she really wants to do is really help the less fortunate. She has, eating disorder causes, and she wants to use her celebrity or intelligence to help less fortunate people. That's really what she wants to do.
I don't want to ruin anything or jeopardize any agreements, but can you give us a sense of what is on the horizon? Or, we had Malky Kawa talking about John Jones and the potential to, get a Nike deal or one from the major shoe companies. For Ronda Rousey, is there anything that you can talk about that's exciting that's on the horizon?
I can't talk in specifics. I can speak generally. Yes, we're talking to some of the major brands, major sports brands, and hair care products, and major potential people getting on board with us right now. Of course, we have all the MMA people, which I very much appreciate my relationship with them because they sponsor a lot of my other athletes that fight in the UFC and other smaller organizations. But at the end of the day, you want to monetize the best of your ability because you have a short window to do it. So we have to take the most lucrative deals, because when she's done, nobody, how it is. Don King walks in with one champion and walks out with the other. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of loyalty. So my goal is to make as much money for her in a short amount of time, and then have her go and pursue her if she becomes a movie star or whatever it is that she wants to do.
Has she talked to you?
She's still trying to figure all that out.
Has she talked to you about future goals? I mean, this is still very young, so I doubt it. But I mean, has she talked about what she wants to do when all is said and done? If not driven by money, if fame, is movies something then that you feel she will definitely try to get into?
Well, I think, a lot of fighters like to entertain. That's one of the reasons that they got into fighting. So I think any area where she could be entertaining people and
can she
leave a positive
sing?
Message.
Is she a good singer?
I'm sorry?
Is she a good singer?
I've not had the opportunity to hear her.
Oh, we got to go karaoke.
I've heard her make other people squeal.
You've heard her make other people sing, for sure. Are you at all surprised by anything she has said during hypes for a fight with Miesha Tate, what her internet or her Twitter persona she's been rewarded with, of course. She won a Twitter bonus, so obviously the powers that be at Zuffa are happy. But as a manager, has she ever crossed the line, or do you talk to her about what she should say, how she should say it, or you just say, you know what, Ronda, you're who you are, go out there and do it?
Well, I have kind of a more purist martial arts mentality of humility, and maybe I have to be humble because I'm not the greatest that ever was, and she is. So, I want to hold her back, but at the same time, this is part of who she is, and this hype that was created, has helped propel her. I'd like to say, boy, I'm responsible for all of it, but some of it was kind of unpredicted. I never would have anticipated this quiet girl that I met at a judo school, a year and a half ago was going to be this, gregarious, person that was firing off shots at other people on. Oh,
so you didn't expect that then?
That part I did not know. I just knew she was really pretty and she could fight.
And so, but you're a fan, obviously, of her persona. And is it a persona? Is there a method behind the madness? I know we had Sarah Kaufman on yesterday, and I want to quickly get to the next chapter of both their respective careers. And she said, Ronda, she respects her as an athlete. She respects her as a person. She said she doesn't want to get caught up in the trash talking. She thinks it is mind games. She felt that Miesha Tate got too emotional, got caught up in that. So is Ronda Rousey just pushing buttons because she knows how to push buttons?
Well, let me say this first. Miesha Tate called Ronda out on Twitter, come down to 35, and then Ronda comes down to 35, and all of a sudden she doesn't deserve it. So Ronda was really, that's not a game. She was pissed. Like, why do you tell me to do something and then I do it, then you come out and say I don't deserve the opportunity, And I say to Miesha, be careful what you wish for because you might get it. And,
she did get it, and it was remarkable. I'm still in shock that she's been able to do what she does with every opponent, submitting them via armbar. Sarah Kaufman doesn't know when she's fighting Ronda Rousey next. I know it was reported that it's supposed to be in August. You're the manager. When will Ronda Rousey defend the Strikeforce Women's Bantamweight title against who? Can you give us any information?
Well, until I have a bout agreement, there's nothing. We're talking sometime in August. That's all I can say at this time because I honestly, I can't. I honestly don't know. Until ink is on paper, we don't have a deal. So we're just waiting. We're waiting for all that stuff to come down. But there's discussion about August.
What has Dana White said to you about Ronda Rousey? He's taken a particular interest, it seems, in the way that he's utilized her. And what about the Ultimate Fighter? That was something else. Is that something you were able to finagle, or did they come to you and say, hey, we want Ronda to come on the show?
Again, I want to take all this credit, like I've done all these genius things, and I'm just doing this genius job. But Dominic Cruz was the genius on that one and contacted Ronda personally, invited her to come down.
And what about her work with the Diaz brothers? I mean, she's everywhere. She's omnipresent.
Yeah,
what was that experience like? I heard she gave them a good run for their money as well.
Yeah, well, she's unbelievable. I mean, she's throwing guys. I'm not going to say names, but I have guys that fight in the UFC, and she throws them on their asses. Wow. And it's not like they're not trying.
All right, last thing before we go, David Meltzer, the Wrestling Observer, joined me earlier this week, and he broached this subject. And in light of what happened on Saturday at UFC on Fox 3, great fights, ratings weren't so good. It is a star-driven business. You know that as a manager. You know that it is the entertainment business. Ronda Rousey has potential to become a big star. When will you put the full court press on to say, hey, if and when, she next defends the title, whoever it may be, if she continues this rise, what about putting her in a main event spot on Fox?
Well, you know what? I think that's something that obviously Dana and Lorenzo, and they're the ones that at the end of the day make those decisions. I think they're obviously, believe in Ronda. They like her very much. She's done a lot for the sport. So if it's ever going to happen with any female, it's going to happen with Ronda. And I had the opportunity to speak with Dana last week at the Diaz fight. And first of all, I have to say about Dana, because I've never had an opportunity to really sit and talk to him. He's a kid living his dream. I saw this, he's just having a great time, And he looked at me and says, Darin, put your seatbelt on, get ready for a ride, because this is just the beginning with Ronda. We are 100% behind her. We've wrapped her into under the UFC umbrella, and we are with Ronda.
So does this mean then that Ronda, with Ronda as a Strikeforce champion, or have they even intimated that there are plans to maybe do some female MMA in the octagon? Hell freezing over?
I'm just using my own common sense. My common sense tells me that it would behoove them to not do that. But nobody has said to me we're going to put Ronda in the UFC. But I have heard from some people close that work within the organization, not the top guys like Dana or Lorenzo, but if ever there's going to be a female, it's going to be Ronda.
Fight Tribe Management's Darin Harvey. What a tremendous talk we have had, and I appreciate your time immensely. By the way, we want to catch up with Ronda, hopefully get a chance to do so soon. And also, because time is a factor now, but Gene LaBelle, you talk about a legend. I might have to catch up with Mr. Stopwatch himself. If you can facilitate that for us, would be amazing. How can we follow you on Twitter, Darin?
Darin Harvey, DarinHarvey. And it's just at Darin Harvey, and there I am. And I'm not going to say I'm the most interesting guy, but I have some interesting things going on in my life outside of MMA.
Well, I appreciate the memories of Boss Ruden and definitely talking about the rise of Ronda Rousey. Very interesting stuff, and nothing official yet, but we hope to see her back defending the title sooner than later. Darin, thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Mauro. You too. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Fight Tribe Management's Darin Harvey joining us. And quickly.